It's good to be home. Get used to me. I'm going to be here every Sunday but one between now and Christmas. And so, just bringing you back, I want to start with a question. Which do you prefer, being clear or being happy? Be careful, it's a trick question. I figured out it was a trick question after Barbara and I debated this or discussed it for a number of years. Me always saying the most important thing is to be clear. We must be clear. We must know we are and be in that clarity with everything else in our lives. And Barbara goes, I want to be happy. I'm going to be happy. No. You see, you start with clarity, and clarity precipitates error. No, I'm just going to be happy. So we went on like that for a while, finally let it go. But what I've come to understand is that they're the same thing. That being clear precipitates being happy. It's like you can't be confused and happy. You can't be uncertain and happy. It's like it goes together. There's something about it that brings it all together. So I'm good with that. I'm good with that. And I can let this whole idea go that one is more important than the other. And so Barbara gave a great talk a few weeks ago. Some of you may remember. It was about happiness. And she talked about extreme happiness. And she referred to a book called How We Choose to Be Happy by Rick Foster and Greg Hicks. And it was a great talk, and it really got me going. And I've been thinking a lot about happiness and how important it is and how we achieve it in our lives. And the list of things that came from that book were wonderful. But I have my own list. So that's what I want to bring you today, is my thoughts on happiness and what's important about being happy and how I perceive that in the world. And I've shared this with several other communities as I've been traveling. So it's been kind of fun to throw this around and play with it. And that's what I want to share with you today. So this idea of being happy has different ways that I experience it and see it in others around me. For example, being happy is about living passionately. It's about being enthusiastic. It's about being engaged in life. And I have a great example of that. And it goes with a story that involves me. And it started with last summer when we were doing our Summer Prosperity Series. Y'all remember that? You remember what we do every summer is we do our prosperity affirmation. And I love that affirmation. And one of the things I get to do as president of Centers for Spiritual Living is I write articles for the two magazines. And I had the opportunity to write an article for the Law of Circulation column in the summer, and it was actually in the September issue of Science of Mind magazine. And in that, I put our affirmation that we say every summer, all summer long. And I want to say it now. Do you know it? Say it with me. You have to say your name, though. Don't say John. I, John, know that God is the source of all supply and that money is God in action. I know that my good is here now. And I'm so rich and so full that I have an abundance of money to spare and to share today and always. I know that true prosperity includes perfect health, perfect wealth, and perfect happiness. This word which I speak in faith knowing now activates universal law, and I accept the results. I bless all that I have now, and I bless the increase. I bless all the others in the increased income program of our center, and I know that we now prosper together in every way. I give thanks for this good, and so it is. Yeah, isn't that great? So, put it in the article. And I ended the article by saying, if you say this affirmation every day for 28 days, something wonderful will happen. And actually, I've gotten contacted by a number of people who said that they've had wonderful things happen. They've had awarenesses, they've become clear. And they are really enjoying it and continue to say it. But there was one in particular that really caught my attention. It was a couple in Southern California, and I have a picture of them. That's part of me. That's me taking a picture with my smartphone. They invited me to dinner at their house in Southern California, and they shared their story with me. You see, they loved my affirmation, and they took that 28-day thing as a challenge. And they got really excited and passionate and enthusiastic about it, and they did it for 28 days nonstop. And on the 28th day, they were informed that they had won the California Super Lotto. $7 million. So if you don't have it, it's in the September copy of Science of My magazine. I know it's everywhere. Where is it? It's on the Welcome Center. Yeah, everywhere I go now and share that story, people are like, where do I get this? So it's not the words, though. It was their enthusiasm, and I have a way to demonstrate that to you. This is a picture of the column in their copy of Science of My magazine. They were really into it. They underlined the affirmation, and they wrote down every day that they said it. They kept track. They wanted to make this thing real. So these are their dates. All over here and up this way. And that's my cell phone number. They were absolute, and you know, you just can't say, I'm going to win the lottery. You say, I'm going to receive the abundance of the universe. And you let the universe tell you how that's going to look. And that's what they did. And they were so sweet when I invited them to go out for dinner. And they said, no, we're going to have you at our home. So we went and had a lovely evening together. And I haven't said their names because they haven't kind of made it public. You know how things change in your life when you make things like that public. So, but it was just so wonderful. And they truly are enthusiastic, passionate people. And it was so wonderful to see them experience that. So that's an example for me of how happy people, trust me, they're happy, are passionate and excited and engaged in life. They really are. So if you're not, if you find that you're kind of feeling the doldrums, that's something to work on, because happiness is where it's at. So that's the first one. The second idea that I had around this was being happy is about living in principle. And you go, well, yeah, that would imply that only people that understand principle could be happy, and that's not so. Because principle to me is my sense of who I am. Understanding that the divine moves through me, that I can create my life no matter what. And there's lots of people that have never even heard the word science of mind spoken as an idea that know how to do that. And I find that they're happy because they know that they're in charge of their life, that they're directing their life, that they're experiencing the fullness and richness of life because they choose it. They're choosing it. And it's true. Happiness is a choice. Happiness is not only a choice, it's infectious. You know, and that's, of course, taught in the book that Barbara referred to a few weeks ago, but it's been taught for eons. It was taught by Hafiz, the Sufi poet, when he said, I caught a happy virus last night when I went out dancing beneath the stars. It's highly contagious. Kiss me. Happiness is just that way. So living in principle is really recognizing and celebrating the fullness of life. Whether you understand the principles we teach here or not, the same is still true, that we are the creators of our experience, and that we are not destined to something that is against that. It can't be. Happiness is built into this idea of being in charge of our lives. The next one that occurred to me was being happy is about responding to life. And this is a very clear distinction I want to make between responding and reacting. You know how we react to things. When we react to things, when we have that fight or flight thing happen, that mechanism within us, it's our limbic brain that's kind of taking over. And there's this thing that happens anytime you're reacting to a circumstance. What happens is your body immediately responds by sending blood to your extremities so that you can do the fight or flight thing. So when you're reacting and the blood is going there, guess what happens? You get stupid because there's no blood in your brain. So don't react to things. Respond to life. Think about it. Consider who you are. Consider what's going on before you jump into something and say something that you're going to have to eat later. And probably if it's a bitter thought that you're putting out in the world, it's not going to taste so good when it comes back. When we respond, we're doing it from a place of clarity. We're doing it from a place of inner knowing. Happy people do this because they don't want to eat that bitter stuff. Happy people avoid the reactive stuff of life and live in the responsive life. They're engaged in life. And from that place, life looks a lot different. Okay, being happy is about considering your options. We always have options. I have people that have come to me for counseling and go, I have no choice. Well, sure you do. You've always got a choice. Whatever's going on, you could do something else. You could do the thing that you think you have to do, but there's other choices. What could you do? You could leave town. You could die. You could be happy anyway. What a concept. Happy people know how to do that because they're going to choose happiness over anything else. That's their choice. So when something happens that would be really easy to think, I'm stuck in this mess, they don't go there. They choose to be happy. I had a wonderful conversation with a young man when I was in New Jersey recently, 16-year-old. And he was trying to explain to me how happiness wasn't that important. What was important was succeeding in life. And you can't be happy until you get what you want. As soon as you get what you want something else. So it's really not about happiness, it's about being successful. And what I discovered out of that conversation is that most of the happy people I know are successful because they do know what their options are, because they do consider and do move toward what they want from that place of happiness. And from being happy, they're going to get what they want faster than if they went at it thinking they had to struggle to get it. So, happiness and success are intertwined as well. Wow, what a concept. Does that mean all happy people have lots of money? No. But I've known some people who didn't have much money that were happy. And boy, I tell you, I liked what I saw. You know, let's play it in a way that our focus is accepting the happiness and making choices in our life that take us to the place we want to go and not feel somehow like life is not allowing us to have. We can have choice. We always have choice without question. Choice is an innate part of our life and nothing can take that away. And one of my favorite ideas around this comes from the Bible, and it goes like this. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will not buy a condo. Things happen. Yet life continues to change. It came to pass, not to stay. Think about that. It says that in the Bible all the time. It came to pass. It did not come to stay. It's going to change. Options are always part of that. So consider your options always. Being happy is about being accountable. And accountable is a wonderful thing. I once was, before I actually worked at the Crystal Cathedral in Southern California, I had the opportunity to be there for a big event. It was a peacemakers event, and it was about the concept or the idea of young people in America being violent, and how the churches from all faiths, and there were Christians and Jews and Islamic clerics that gathered at the Crystal Cathedral to talk about the idea of youth violence. There was a speaker that came from Brooklyn, New York, and he got up and he said, the reason that we have had violence in this country is because of the churches and the spiritual communities. And everyone went, and I'm in the back going, yeah! I realized nobody was there with me, but I got immediately what he was saying. He was saying, if it was because of the churches, then the churches can do something about it. Then the spiritual communities can change it. Because if they have not done something that would have prevented that, they now can, because you're aware of it. It wasn't a blaming, because blaming doesn't work. You can't blame other people. You can't even blame yourself. That's a dead end. Blaming doesn't work. But being accountable is incredibly powerful. When we are accountable for what's going on in our lives, and we realize that we must have had a thought that created this into our lives. We may not remember the thought, but there was something that brought this into our consciousness because it could not exist otherwise. Then we're not going to punish ourselves about it. What are we going to do? We're going to have a different thought. That's all. That's all accountability is about. That's not about being wrong. It's not about being sorry. It's simply about knowing that we're creating our lives. And with simply a new thought in a new way, you create a new outcome. Maybe not in that very moment, but it is created. It already exists. Whatever it is that you want in your life is already there. The job is just to reveal it, and that's in your ability to take total and absolute responsibility for your life. Happy people do that. They're quite happy to do it because they know that if they don't like what's happening now, they can create something different. There's no reason not to be happy. In fact, there's a good reason to be happy. Being happy is about focusing on what's important. This has been a good lesson for me because we have so many distractions in our lives. Things that seem like we should put all our energy over in that thing that's screaming at us. But most of those things that scream, as urgent as they are not really important. What is important? Is stuff important? I love stuff. Have you seen my shoes? But stuff is not the most important thing. What's important, and I am certain about this, at the end of our lives, if we have that opportunity to reflect on our life, what's important is who we loved and who loved us. That's what's important. So as we move through life, if we remember that and we focus on that, we still get to get this stuff. But we let be what's important, be the focus of our lives. And when we do, we have healthy relationships. We know who we are. We appreciate ourselves and those around us. And we're happy. It really fits together very nicely. So focusing on what's important is really the act of being aware of who is important in your life. Being happy is about staying in gratitude. Golly, this has been a big one for me. And you know, being grateful, it's Thanksgiving, and so what a great time to talk about it. I find that when I am grateful for things in my life, they grow. When I focus on the things that I'm grateful for, and not on the things that I don't, it's really easy as a human being to focus on what's not working. The problem with that is when you focus on what's not working, what is not working in your life, you create more of it. Even when you're screaming you don't want it, you're creating it again and again and again. So focus on what you do want. Focus on what you're grateful for. Let that grow in your life. You think that makes people happy? I guarantee it. Because what they're getting back in their life are the things that they're grateful for. I found this to work again and again and again in situations that are absolutely extraordinary. And you can be grateful in the moment for a little thing and have an outcome. You can be exactly what you need to be in that moment of being grateful and have it show up again and again in your life. I love the way that works. So be grateful, no matter what. Be grateful. Whatever's going on, find something to be grateful for. And what you'll get out of that is more of the part that's working. You can let the rest of it go. Being happy is about being exceedingly generous. Being exceedingly generous. Yes. I had an experience of someone being just in the moment, just very, very briefly generous with me recently. And I so enjoyed that. I was at Sam's. You know how we teach in first-year classes the thing about parking lots and getting a parking space up close? I had a parking space at Sam's up close. I was not in the aisle where the car was pulling out, but it was on the end, so I was on the side aisle. And I pulled up, and I saw that the people were finishing putting the things in their car, and they were wrapping it up, closing up, and as they were getting in the car, I noticed that down the aisle there was another car waiting for the same spot. And we looked at each other. And I'm going, damn it, that's my parking space. Oh! And so he looked at me and he smiled and he gestured. Take the parking space. And I'm going, are you sure? He says, sure. And so I said, okay. People pulled out and I pulled in. And I could not take my eyes off the guy in the car. And he pulled around. He got a closer parking space. I was so excited. I had to go over and talk to him. And I said, that's what you get for being generous. You get a better parking space. And I don't know that he even spoke English. I think he was Mexican. But it was such a cool moment, you know, to realize that his generosity gave him something even better. And in that little microcosm, I believe that's how generosity works. Is that when we are generous in life, when we give in life, wonderful things happen to us. Now, we don't give and then go, okay, where's mine? We give just to give because we love to give. And then what happens is life gives to us. Now, we must be open to receiving. There are some people that play this weird game of, I'll give you all I've got, but oh no, I can't take anything. That's weird. Don't do that. You must be in the flow. It's a flow. And the way to do it is to be generous and then to receive joyously all that comes to you. Barb and I have been tithers as long as I can remember. I am a tither. Because Barbara made me. But I wouldn't stop tithing on a bed right now. I find it one of the most generous things that I can do. So when I go to all these churches all over, I make sure I always put money into those communities. And money comes to me. And it's wonderful. This dynamic flow of spirit happens to me all the time. It's like just such a wonderful thing. And I was thinking about the tithers that I know in my life, people who have committed 10% of their income to their spiritual food. They're all happy. They're all happy. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to tithe to be happy, but I believe that you have to be generous to be happy. That if you're holding stuff tight to you, that is counterindicated to a happy life. But being in the flow, being in that joyous place of giving your time and your energy and your genius to the world, you cannot outgive God. And the happiness in that is intrinsic. It's built into it. You have to have it. And finally, being happy is about finding God in everything. Now, if you want a secular view of that one, it's finding good in everything. Everything, no matter what. Whatever happens, there's something wonderful in it. Your work, though, is to pay attention so you can see the presence of the divine in the midst of what may look like a mess. One line that Barbara often quotes that I just love comes from Emerson. Even in the muck and mire of things, something sings. That thing that sings is the divine. It's present in everything. And that thing that looks like a mess would not be in your life if it wasn't bringing you something extraordinary. But what I find a lot of times is that those situations are there to help me remember who I am and what I can do. So that I am never at the point of being an effect of anything. I create my experience. And if I don't like this thing, I'm going to look at it and see, where's God in there? And you know, when I started that, I couldn't see it all that easy. But the more I did it, the more I could see it, the faster I could see it. And if you just look for it right away, it will show up. It will show up. And when you can find the presence of the divine in any circumstance, you, my friends, will be the happiest people on earth. That's how I believe it works. That's what works for me. So I invite you to and let these things kind of resonate with you and see what it is you could shift in your experience that could demonstrate for you that you are an exceedingly happy person. And if you don't believe me, I have 4 great thinkers who think something similar to me, like this one. Life is too important to be taken seriously, by Oscar Wilde. Oscar Wilde, the great playwright, said that after he had been incarcerated for being a gay man in England. He still saw that we can't play this game serious, we have to play it light and loving. How about Deepak Chopra, who says nothing is more important than connecting with your bliss? You agree? Okay. And of course, His Holiness the Dalai Lama. I believe that the very purpose of life is to be happy. Okay, Barbara. You and the Dalai Lama. I think you're friends on Facebook, aren't you? Yeah. Okay, and the last one. Bobby McFerrin and his teacher, Mayor Baba. Don't worry, be happy. Yeah, there you go. I love you.